Now, that was quite an exciting outing. Of course, you were there. You'd have to have been there physically. That's not the kind of event where you wait for the newspapers tomorrow or you watch it on TV. Again, well, it's the second coming in recent memory of Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu to Ogun State. The first time, was quite an event, and perhaps in a different way, no less so. The second time, in terms of the excitement and the crowd and all of that. But as you know, it has that second coming that I'm speaking about did bring about some notions in the public square. So let me ask you, first of all, what would be your assessment as to how well the rally went, the success of the rally for APC in Ogun State?
Once again, good morning to all our viewers, wherever you're watching us from, because I believe this is a global TV.
It is.
By all standard.
Thank you.
Abeokuta, 25th of January, was indeed a deadline by all standard. And it was a carnival of excitement, unlike the carnival of confusion that the opposition had days earlier. The crowd was such that that arena hasn't seen in a very, very long time. And it was a reassurance for our presidential candidate that Ogun State is completely there for Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu to take. And you know that we in Ogun State were always the reference point and watershed for most of the things that turn out to be the decider of the current trend in Nigerian politics. Here we are again. Abeokuta did not do anything less than that status on 25th of January.
The carnival was there, but let me just pick out some of the things that have been said, and the whole matter about the understanding that was taken, for example, all sorts of natural political stuff campaign stuff was said, but there were also some other things. As for instance, there are those who have taken the interpretation that Asiwaju actually struck a jibe at the ruling class. It's funny because he himself, when you talk about those kind of people, you think that he's among them, and perhaps rightly so. But it is thought that in his statements, some of his statements, that he was taking a jab at, when you look at the current situation, it's no fuel, the currency exchange exercise is not going quite as well as people had hoped. And there are those who are thinking that he actually was criticizing perhaps even the president. You were there. Give me your take on whether this is indeed a right interpretation of what he was saying.
Now, the political space is always full of booby traps. And even when you have good intention, beware of fifth columnists who can decide to put your submission in that interpretation that suits their own cause. Let me take on a few things that Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu said. Mm-hmm. One was the issue of revolution. He said, this is a revolution. What is a revolution? A revolution is any act that upset the current trend in a system or in a particular setting of supremacy, mm-hmm. so to say. Now, it can come by way of innovation. In the early 90s, for example, I worked in a bank as an industrial trainee, and I realized that a room that is as big as this place was the computer room of a bank, and there was even no connectivity between branches. You still have to do paperwork, moving materials from one branch to another, mm-hmm. to reconcile accounts. Mm-hmm. But at some point, there was a revolution in the banking sector, and you began to have bank connectivity between branches and interbanks.
That was a technological revolution.
Exactly.
And I think Asiwaju was particularizing about an electoral revolution.
Now, when he mentioned revolution, they were quick to interpret it as a bloody setup to upstage the entire system. Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu is a Democrat, and he will not be a part of anything that will be undemocratic in this democratic process. And we've seen that the opposition have chosen to use that particular narrative to suit their own misgiving. And that's quite unfortunate.
In spite of his talking about get your PVC, it's a revolution at the polls.
Exactly. You know. Those are the things that we have seen of him, but they have made it to suit their own narrative. When Mr. President said people should go and vote their conscience, at that point he was wearing the cap of a statesman, an elder statesman. He couldn't have said anything less. But in that same interview, he spoke glowingly about Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu, saying that the APC was lucky to even have him as the candidate.
That's right.
But that didn't suit their narrative. They excluded that and pushed this other one into the space so that people can be misled, misinformed, or disinformed, as it were. But the truth of the matter is that we are in touch with the electorate, and we will not allow all this misinformation to tilt the thing in favor of the opposition. That kind of situation is what the crowd in Abeokuta demonstrated. What are you going to tell this crowd now? That Tinubu is no longer going to be the president? You are going to have a Herculean task to get that done. And each of those people that you are seeing on that ground have those that they are also mobilizing at their own level. That tells you straight away that Ogun State is already for APC in the coming elections. Presidential, National Assembly, governorship, state assemblies.
Indeed, and the chief host was Governor Abiodun there. There you go. He was there. He's also up for the contest. It's not as if it's going to be a walkover. In fact, I think the PDP has its eye on Ogun State, but the crowd was told that Governor Abiodun still had one more term to do.
Exactly.
You know, and
it's a statement rally that 25th of January was, and that doesn't mean that our visits to local government for our campaigns will stop. That was just to host Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu, the incoming president of Nigeria.
So Ogun APC is not taking anything for granted.
We are not taking anything for granted. We will cover every blade of grass on the political field.
Of course, there might be others, but I just note that the PDP, with Mr. Adebutu, Oladipupo Adebutu from Ogun East, he would be the governor as far as PDP are concerned, but it remains to be seen at the polls how indeed the electorate feels.
There's nothing wrong with incurable optimism in the political process. So you have to be optimistic, because if you don't demonstrate that optimism, those who are following you may just leave you, because they will have seen that even you don't have a belief in what you are pursuing. To that extent, we excuse them for having that optimism. It's part of the political process. But the thing is this, in Ogun East, where I come from, for example, we have the likes of the former governor, Otumba Gbenga Daniel, who is the senatorial candidate of the APC, who during his tenure performed creditably well and has done a wonderful campaign and is still on with few local governments to cover, to tell you that he's not leaving anything to chance. Add that to the performance of Mr. Governor, plus all the credible political leaders who are now in the camp of the APC. It simply means that Ogun East is for APC, as it were. Add that to what is going on in the West with the like of Senator Olamilekan Solomon Adeola, also known as Yayi. Add that to whatever impact that he's already making on the field in terms of campaign and what have you. Plus those who are the other candidate for National Assembly elections. Put all of that together, it is still reflecting positives for APC. Come to the central, it is not anywhere different. All of the indicators that we have across the local governments in the state begins to show that we can at least have a rest of mind that APC will win this election. However, we will not rest until the final result is announced.